for those people who are willing to fix their own screens, change the battery, change the camera, Apple has taken it even a step further and said, not only are we going to make it so you can fix your own device, we're actually going to sell you the parts so you can fix your own screen, change the battery, fix the camera, change the volume, fix the volume buttons, fix the power button, fix the speaker, replace the speaker, do whatever you need to do. So Apple's calling this program self-service repair. It'll launch early next year. They don't have an exact date. They just say early next year. And Apple is actually going to sell parts and actual kits to individuals. So say, for instance, your screen cracks, instead of you going to, and I'm burying the lead a little bit, but iFixit is a major player when it comes to regular people going to them to buy the parts to fix their iPhones, right? iFixit was a major proponent of the right to repair because they sell the parts. So they
Right.
have a bias when it
They
comes
have a
to,
vested interest in this.
right, when it comes to force or convincing Apple that they need to ease up and let third parties or let regular people fix their devices. Well, Apple's like, all right, here's what we're going to do. We're going to let people fix their own devices, but what we're going to do is we're going to now compete with an iFixit, and Apple is actually going to sell kits and parts so Apple customers, people with Apple devices, can actually fix their own units and fix their own kits, which puts them in direct competition with iFixit, companies like iFixit. So I'll give you a little bit more information. They're going to start with the iPhone 12 and the iPhone 13. So all of the devices, I think Apple still supports the iPhone 7, the 8, the 10, the 10Rs, 11, 12, and 13,
Mm-hmm.
right? So only the 12 and the 13s at the beginning. And then they'll expand to MacBooks with the M1 chip. So the M1 MacBook Air, the M1 MacBook Pro from last year, and then the newer ones that just came out. All of those probably in 2022 are going to be eligible to for Apple to, so you could buy kits from Apple to actually repair them. So I kind of told you why I think Apple did this, but I guess I'm going to get your opinion on why do you think Apple has decided to say, all right, not only will we make it easier for you to fix your own parts, your own devices, we're going to sell you the parts and the kit so you can do it yourself.
I think it's pretty much similar to what I said before in the previous story. They realize that they aren't going to really lose anything by
Mm-hmm.
offering this. And if anything, I think iFixit and all the other right to fix your own phone folks, they may have talked themselves into some competition. So
Right.
before, they were the only one who was selling the parts. Now
Uh-huh.
Apple is in the game selling the parts. And who do you think people are going to trust to sell them parts? They're likely going to go to Apple and get the official Apple parts, even though I'm sure iFixit parts are just as, you know, they work the same. But you can now buy the Apple branded parts directly from Apple. So again, Apple saying we're really not going to lose a lot of market share if we give people the option to go to these third party people. But we're also going to kick it up a notch and say, yeah, we're going to sell them too so we can get some of our money back. So we won't lose as much as people going outside. So I think iFixit and everybody else may have talked themselves into some competition
Yeah,
from
no,
Apple.
absolutely. Now, to read into the story a little bit, it says Apple plans to sell more than 200 individual parts and tools. The company will also offer repair manuals that customers can review before buying the parts, which is pretty much iFixit's claim to fame. Is they have
Mm-hmm.
repair manuals for pretty much any gadget out there. I know I go to iFixit all the time when I was fixing iPhones, and even fast forward to now. I think my wife, she had an iPhone 10R. She cracked the back completely. I went to iFixit and got the whole rear for her iPhone via iFixit. I still have some of their kits around here. I don't have any sitting right here, but I've got iFixit branded repair kits, repair parts, screwdrivers, the whole nine. And now that Apple
Apple's gonna serve
has,
it on a platter.
right, more likely I'm going to feel more comfortable going to Apple to get an iPhone screen because I know it's coming from Apple versus going to iFixit because I don't know what kits they're going to have. According to this story, I wanted to find it where let me see if this is it. Elizabeth Chamberlain, iFixit's director of sustainability. Chamberlain notes that this isn't the open source repair revolution we've sought through our fight for right to repair because it appears to still support restrictions that requires parts to be bought straight from Apple. So what Apple's saying here, in to rephrase, is like, all right, we're going to sell these kits specifically to our consumers. What we may or may not do is sell these kits to repair centers like iFixit. So again, like you mentioned, iFixit is definitely, and some of these other ones have definitely talked their way into some competition because, like we mentioned before, most people may feel more comfortable going to Apple for branded, authentic parts versus whatever. I'm pretty sure iFixit has some good products, but if I had to choose between whatever iFixit is selling and what Apple's selling, I may spend the extra bucks if it costs
Yeah.
more to know I'm getting a quality screen. Because
And
again, what
knowing
I'm
Apple, they'll
go
probably
ahead.
keep it around the same type of price point. It might be a little bit more, but probably not enough to cause any significant difference. And if you're willing to go out on the limb and fix it yourself, you're like, you know what? Let me make sure I got the official parts because I'm already doing this myself. So it takes some of the air out of it if I'm confident that this comes from Apple and I know that this part will work on my device. And if something
Mhm.
goes wrong, it's probably user error, not
Right.
necessarily part error.
Right. Now, Apple does say they're going to sell, according to the story from The Verge, Apple is going to sell genuine parts to third party repair shops. But again, in the
You still have to
beginning,
buy. Apple still gets that money though. If you're having to buy Apple genuine, you don't have to buy Apple genuine parts, and that's
mhm,
where this Elizabeth Chamberlain, she was like, this is not what they thought they were going to get. But you wanted to be able to fix Apple phones. You can now fix Apple phones. You just now have the competition of Apple branded parts versus your branded parts,
mhm.
and manuals for people to fix them themselves. So they don't need you. So
Be careful what you
what
wish
you want,
for.
girl? I mean, you wanted this, so they're giving it to you, just not the way you want it, and that's not their problem. That's your problem.
Well, more importantly, Apple is giving it to the consumers, not necessarily to
Mm.
iFixit.
But iFixit can buy the Apple branded parts too, but it kind of really defeats the purpose of what they're doing, and that's what she's saying. The restrictions are that the parts have to be bought from Apple. No, they don't. No one says that the parts have to be bought from Apple. They've been buying your parts and putting them on their phones, and it's been fine. Now you just have the added competition of Apple products, and you don't like it. But I
Right.
mean,
Be careful
you
what
got
you
what you
wish
wanted.
for.
Yeah, you got what you wanted.
All right, all right. So we'll see what happens with that. I'll definitely be following that close to see, especially when this thing launches. How successful Apple is. More specifically, how successful individuals are repairing using Apple's genuine parts. How easy it is. Because that's going to be the main thing. Again, that's one of the reasons why I got out of it. I mean, regardless of where you get the parts from, I mean, these screws
Are
are
tiny. If you don't have the
tiny.
magnetic tools,
If
you
you
are
don't, if you
screwed.
lose one in the carpet, forget it.
You're
Forget
not finding
it.
it.
Forget it. So, hats off to you if you try to do it. That should be your right. You do. They do have a point. You should have every right to do whatever you want to do with your devices after you buy them. But again, be careful what you wish for though. Once you get it and you sitting there with a table full of parts that you didn't forgot what order you took them out, and now you're trying to figure out what screw goes in this hole because all the screws are not universal. They got
Nope.
different lengths, they got different holes, they got different
Hmm.
sockets, wrenches to use. It is a nightmare, especially if you lose one or forget what you were doing or forget what order that you put them in. So that's why I got out the game, and I'm technologically savvy, so I can imagine some regular old person deciding, yo, yeah, sure, I'm gonna fix it. Get on the table, take your phone apart, and be like, oh crap.
Right. I think what this is going to expose is a lot of people who think they are super savvy and I can fix and I can build anything. I think a lot of people are about to get humbled real
Right,
quick.
and you probably can, but again, it ain't
It's not going to be
easy.
easy.
It's not. It's
Mm-mm.
not simple, especially when it comes to. And I'll this last point, and I'll move on. Especially when it comes to the waterproof, there is a specific seal that you
Hmm.
have to put around the screen before you close it up. And then once you close it up, you can't be like, "Oh, I forgot something," and open it back up. You just messed the seal up. So now you
Yep.
got to get a new one, and it's just look. I'm telling you,
Pay
it's
for the convenience.
it feels good when you do it. Don't get me wrong. Every time I fix the phone, I'd be like, you know what? I did that.
I slayed a dragon today.
Right, right. But there have been times where I fix something and the person takes the phone and they be like, wait a minute, now my volume don't work. And then they come back and now I gotta take the phone apart again and figure out why. How did I go from fixing the screen and now I'm trying to figure out why the volume button don't work? It's like,
Hmm.
look, these are
You can
problems
have
that
it.
you're going to run into. Be careful when you ready to get into these phones. So,
Yeah. These are
all
not
right,
cheap
moving.
devices.
Yeah, yeah, it's not easy.